Hi there, I'm Todd Nauck. Welcome to the Art of Todd Nauck Facebook page, the Art of Todd Nauck show, episode 10. Today I'm drawing Impulse from Young Justice. Young Justice was a comic book series I used to do for DC Comics. A cartoon series that the Young Justice cartoon was kind of based off of in a lot of ways. So let's get to work. I'll plug into the rig and we'll start drawing. So I got a comic book backing board here. I like these because they're nice and firm, firm piece of artboard, acid free, and I like to use the matte side, the texture, slightly textured side, not the glossy. See how that's? I don't know if you can see on film. It's very. If you feel it, it's very smooth, very glossy. Not good to draw on. Not good for Copic colors. So I use the matte side. It has a little bit of a finish to, or not a finish to it. It has a. There's a fleck on here. Oh, that's from my pencil that I'm holding in my hand. Let's erase that and have a fresh canvas to start on here. So, Impulse from Young Justice. Welcome to the show, everyone. Glad you're here. Yes, this will be Crash. Yes, it will. Though I will be drawing the cartoon version, or I'm sorry, not the cartoon. I'll be drawing the comic book version of Impulse from the Young Justice DC comic book from the original Young Justice series, not the cartoon version. Which is there's a slight variation in the design. Still the same character, just slight, or for the most part, same character. Both are Bart Allen from the future. Though Maya Bard Allen is from farther in the future than the cartoon version. Now let's see. I'm using I believe it's the Pentel Twist Erase mechanical pencil. This is a HB 0.5 lead. I'm using a larger lead here just for roughing in the shapes. The shapes are what's important at this stage. When I go for my finer, tighter details, I use the 0.3 Unikuratoga HB lead pencil. The 0.3 lead is much finer tip. But I don't need that fine tip right now. This is all about the shapes and facial feature placement. Oh, well, thank you for the kind words, gang. I appreciate it. Appreciate the compliments. Glad you're enjoying what I'm doing. Now, the comic book Impulse, he has much bigger hair than the cartoon version. That is one major difference. Comic book version, he had hair. I mean, my goodness. He had so much hair. But it really played well for when you're drawing him running. You could have that hair flipping all around in all different sorts of ways. It's a very floppy mane. So we got some Young Justice comic book fans in the house. Someone here said they have the whole series. Appreciate that. 55 issues plus several double-sized specials like Sins of Youth and Our Worlds at War that we did for this series. I loved drawing this comic book series. Absolutely loved it. This one's based on the comic book, the original comic book, the series that I drew that Peter David wrote. We also had Todd Nauck, who wrote some, who kind of helped get Young Justice kicked off back in the late 90s. But then Peter David came in to take over the series, and so I got to work with both those writers, both really great guys, and fantastic writers. How much of my drawing is pre-planned or thought out, and how much of it is developmental as the drawing progresses? It varies. Depending on the illustration, whether it be doing a commission, doing a just a sketch for fun, doing pages for comics, just the way I draw is oftentimes I kind of see the image in my head, for the most part. But it's never really a clear-cut, crystal-clear image. It's very rarely that. I liken it to more of kind of like a ghost image. And then as I start to put lines down on paper, trying to capture what I'm kind of seeing in my head, as I start to see it progress on the paper, I make tweaks and adjustments as I go to get to the place where I want to be. So adjust his chin and jawline here a little bit. Do I prefer Facebook video over Periscope? I enjoy both. Though I do think Facebook, the footage I get from Facebook that I'm able to put up on YouTube is a better video quality than what... So I do appreciate that about Facebook. Hopefully Periscope can up their video quality a bit for the saved video. Any advice on creating your own art style? Yeah, I do. I've actually kind of talked about this on my YouTube channel some. It's been a while since I've shared my thoughts on this, so this is a good time to talk about it again. I encourage people to really not worry too much about finding your art style. My opinion is that your art style finds you. Your main job is to find the best way to draw things. Draw things as accurately or as professionally as possible. And your art style will emerge from that, from the way you translate the world. So some people should I try to draw in a Jim Lee art style or a Bruce Timm animated art style, or should I do an Alex Ross more painted kind of style? It's like, well, how do you like to draw? Do you like to draw in a simple kind of more simplified shape animated style, or do you prefer to draw in a more heavily rendered comic book detail style, or do you prefer to paint your style? So, because some people say, I can do all three. And it's like, well, which do you like doing the best? Because whatever job you get hired to do, if an editor sees your work and they like your stuff and they hire you for your animated type of style, but you prefer to draw in a more heavily detailed comic book traditional style, you're going to have a bit of a harder time swimming back upstream to get to draw in the style that you like, or the type of style you like to do. So be mindful about that. Be true to yourself and your art. If you like doing all three and it doesn't matter what you get hired for or get known for, then more power to you. But if you have one way you like to draw that's really preferred, go for it, and be true to that. So that you don't end up pigeonholed. Like, say you get hired to do a more painterly type style, like an Alex Ross style, but it isn't the way you like to draw as much. Then you're kind of stuck drawing that way and not going to have maybe not have as much fun. Let's see, I had his ear wings a little up a little too high, so I needed to adjust and bring those back down. Much better. This is the importance of really sketching out that initial stage there, so you can catch where things are off and course correct before you get too committed to the illustration and you start inking and then realize you made a mistake. might be impossible to then correct that. Make sure that got the proper amount of hair here on his head. Just double checking where I put his skull there, and then how the hair sits on top of that. A lot of people ask, how do you draw hair? Well, one thing, make sure you're drawing your complete skull first before you start putting your hair in. Some young artists, they start off drawing a face, and then they start to put hair on the back of the face, and then it doesn't make the head look like it's fully there. The hair might cut too short, or it might go too far back. So you want to make sure you know right where your head is, and it's almost like putting a wig on top of it. You want to know exactly where that is. So draw through with that skull, and then place your hair on top there. Find where the hairline starts, and then start to pull the hair around. Depending on the hairstyle or flow of the hair, straight hair, curly hair, wavy hair. You want to be mindful of the hair texture of your character as well. That's important in how to render your hair. Alright, now I think I've pretty much got the pencils the way I want them. Got the shapes down where I want them. Kind of have Impulse looking over his shoulder here a little bit. Something's grabbed his attention. What little bit of an attention span that he has. All right, let's move into some inks now. I'm going to start with use my Pentel Pigment Micron, not Pentel, but just my Sakura Pigment Micron, starting with the 08 here. I like to start with that first big flip of his hair and work my way backwards. Do I think my Wild Guard comic series will get a cartoon show? That would be fun if it did. That'd be great. See, let's get his ear bolts inked in next, since they're furthest in the foreground. Then the hair flips over it and then flips back down around to the back. Takes a while to train your hand to get these long swoops. I could not do these starting off. A lot of practice. A lot of messed up lines in the past. But the more you do it, the more you start to develop that confidence. And you can start to get those swoops that you want. So practice, gang. Practice that inking. I've mentioned it before, and I'll mention it here again on this broadcast. My inker friend, Larry Stucker, who used to ink Young Justice. Really great friend of mine, one of my best pals. Back when we were at Extreme Studios, when we both broke into the business working for Rob Liefeld, that's where we met. When he wasn't working on a page, he'd be doing this. Just inking a series of lines. He'd fill up a whole 11 by 17 page of image artboard doing this, and then he'd maybe come back and crosshatch and fade and render different type of details. Just filling it up with inked lines, different directions. But I'd often catch him doing this, just doing these long strokes. I was like, dude, what are you doing that for, you know? You already got the job. And it's like he was just practicing, even as a professional, even breaking in as a professional. He continued to practice his hand control. So if you're struggling with your inking, take a piece of artboard and start doing this. Now your lines might kind of come off kind of a little wavy at first, or you know, you won't have. It's that kind of developing that hand-eye coordination and muscle memory. So young inkers or penciler inkers, practice that. Practice fades where they're close together and then get farther apart. Just, you gotta develop that hand-eye symbiosis. And it develops that confidence. That's why we say practice all the time. Practice isn't just, part of it is developing confidence in what you are capable of in your skills. That's why guitarists can shred, you know, because they have practice. They are confident in the way they can play. Same with sports figures, you know. They're confident in their throws or catches or whatever it is they do in their sport. Swim or run. So thanks for letting me take that little sidetrack on the inking tip there. Now back to our regularly scheduled impulse. I guess I had an inking impulse there just now. Similarly, practicing one's anatomy to know how the different muscles fit together, for the most part at least. So you can draw from different angles. Like here, we're seeing his right shoulder and his head's turning. So just kind of some of the basic shapes of that to get the right motion, the way the spine will cut through, and then over the shoulder, down towards the back. We got his lightning bolt stripe starting here. Get the other side of his hair. So, do y'all have a favorite Young Justice character? All right, so there's something wrong with my Facebook. Let me check something real quick. Okay, for some reason my app is not showing y'all's comments. I cannot see comments, which is really strange. So just checked on my my desktop computer to make sure see if it's still showing comments, and I do see that y'all are responding to me over there, but I'm not able to see it on my phone app, which is strange. So we'll just continue here. I apologize that I'm not going to be able to answer really anyone's questions at the moment. Please do feel free to post. I do try to go back and read the questions afterwards, and comments as well. All right. So Impulse is a character that I believe, if I remember correctly, was created by Mike Ringo, the legendary late Mike Ringo, one of my favorite artists of the 90s till he passed a few years ago, quite a few years ago. It was a shock. He died way too young. Yeah, he died way too young, and but he was the first guy to, I believe, create Impulse. I believe, or it might have been Carlos Pacheco. Oh, hey, we got the thing just refreshed, and now I'm seeing your comments coming through. So, hey, gang, welcome back. So glad the app decided to play fair. So, so I can see your comments. So feel free to post your questions if you'd like. But back to the history of Impulse real quick. He then got his own solo series in the 1990s, written by Mark Waid and drawn by a newcomer named Humberto Ramos. And I love that series. Just ate it up. One of my favorite runs in comics. If you ever get a chance to read the Mark Waid, Humberto Ramos issues, like the first 25 issues of the series, read the whole series. There's a lot of great creators that came in after Mark Waid and Humberto Ramos, like I believe William Mesner Loebs took over writing, and then Todd Nauck, and then we had people like Craig Rousseau and Ethan Van Sciver and Carlo Barberi come in as artists on the series. So it's a great run from beginning to end. But boy, those Humberto Ramos, Mark Waid issues were really, really fantastic. They were doing stuff that hadn't really been done with a superhero before, where Bart would speak in pictograms, which was which I hadn't seen done in comics before. A lot of good emotion in that series, too. It's a very fun comic. Kind of like to see me draw the Transformers or Voltron, something like that. Very cool. I appreciate that. Maybe I'll do that someday. Oh, you missed the Young Justice series. Thank you, I miss it too. Hopefully one day DC will release the whole series in trade paperback. Right now we have our first 6 issues in trade paperback. It's called Young Justice, A League of Their Own. And then we have our big event, Young Justice, Sins of Youth. That's in trade paperback, which is around issue 19 or so of the series. This one we took a break to do our big Sins of Youth event, crossover event. Actually, it was more of a 5th week event when DC used to do those. Whether there'd be a 5th shipping week of the month, or whether it'd be 5 Wednesdays in a month, and they'd do this big storyline event for those random months. And back in 2000, I guess it was 2000, we did one for Young Justice, Sins of Youth, which featured the Justice League, the JSA, pretty much every superhero. So much fun to draw. So those are in trade paperback. And then the prequel to Young Justice, Justice League, A World Without Grown-Ups, written by Todd Nauck, drawn by Humberto Ramos and Mike McKone, my good pal Mike McKone. And also features our first prequel issue of Young Justice, Young Justice The Secret, where we introduced a character who had later joined the team named The Secret, who was on the season 1 Halloween episode of the Young Justice cartoon series. I co-created that character with Todd Nauck and Peter David, and her brother Harm as well is from the original Young Justice comic series. All right, let's size down here to the 01. Was the secret design my idea? Yes, it was. Yep, she was the design. Most of that was my idea. I'm sure I kind of talked things over with Todd Nauck and our editor when we were first getting things going there, but the kind of the cape sort of thing and the striped jumpsuit from the research complex she escaped from was mine. The powers were and the name were Todd Nauck's idea. And then when Peter David came onto the series, he created her backstory, which was a really, really fantastic issue. I really loved what Peter wrote there in the later part of Young Justice, where we learn more about the secret of Secret. A little different than what the cartoon did. There's some similarities, but we really got to delve into it in the comic book series, so you get a whole lot more to the story in our comic book. All right, let's erase here using my Stettler Mars plastic eraser. All right, let's flesh out the other side of his shoulder a little bit. Just tightening up some of the lines here now that I've erased. You can see things a little differently. Okay. All right, so let's start with the flesh tones. Going to start with the E00 Copic sketch marker using my brush tip here. E00. Hey, Will Robson, welcome to the broadcast. Everyone, this is Marvel comic artist Will Robson of the upcoming new Great Lake Avengers comic series. I got to meet Rob at the London Film and Comic Con. Great guy, great artist. Really looking forward to your series, Rob. Looks a lot of fun. From the preview stuff I've seen, oh my gosh. You're doing killer work on that book. I cannot wait to read it. I read the first 3-4 preview pages that have been released with Flatman. Really funny stuff, really beautifully drawn. I think it's going to be a breakout hit. I think we're going to look at the Great Lakes Avengers in ways we hadn't before. I think it's just the right fit. Now some E000. Little E01, just kind of layering in these different shades of the low E colors for my Caucasian skin tone. Little R00 here. Actually, before I go R00, I want a little more pink in his nose to start off with, so I'm using some R20 first. Just a little bit in the lips. I don't want a lot in the lips because I don't want it to look like he's wearing lip gloss or anything like that. Now the E00 to kind of blend that all through. Put a little bit here on the cheeks, a little bit here on the brow. Kind of showing where the curve of where his eyebrow is up into the brow, how it's kind of arcing a little bit, just a little bit in there. Subtle. Sometimes you just want a little subtle play there in the facial feature. Let's see, let's tackle that hair. I'm going to start with the darker parts of the hair first. Oh yeah, Tamara on, hey, did I say Rob? I didn't call you Rob before, did I? Will Robson? I don't know why I want to say Rob Wilson. I was so exhausted. I think I was recovering from jet lag when we got to London for like a week. Probably halfway through our trip, I was still recovering from jet lag. So I think in my exhaustion, I know one time I called you Rob Wilson. I hope I didn't call you Rob Wilson. Your name should not have two first names in it. It should be Will Robinson. That would help me if you could change your name to Will Robinson. I don't want to call you Rob Wilson. Will Robson. Hopefully I said it right. Probably there's coming over here to the U.S. The conversion flips the syllables in your name. So Will Robson. Yes, I did see Tamara's colors on your series there, and found her on Instagram, gave her a instant follow. Really like her colors there. She is doing beautiful colors over your lines. Oops, sorry about that. Hopefully I wasn't too far off the screen. So like I said, this is the E89, and these are for the darker parts of his hair. The part that doesn't get as much sun. Kind of the more shadowy parts underneath the flip and here towards the back. So just cutting in with that color. So a little E57 now. Blend this on through. Start to pull some of the E57 up here from the back of the head, following the guidelines that I placed with the inks to help maintain that correct direction of flow. Have I ever met Alex Ross? I have not. I have not met Alex Ross. Not that I can recall. Really enjoy his paintings. I think is phenomenal. But I don't think I've ever had a chance to meet him. I've seen his super mega booth at San Diego Comic-Con, but he's never there. Never, ever there. That's just a little random Cake lyrics there for you, for the Cake fans. So let's kick it over to the E15. Danger Will Robson. There we go. That's awesome. A little Lost in Space reference there. How often do you get that, Will? Have you had a lot of people growing up saying Danger Will Robson? Since it sounds so much like Danger Will Robinson. Probably about as often as I've gotten knock-knock jokes in my life. I got burned out on knock-knock jokes by the time I was in 3rd grade. Who's my most requested Young Justice character for commissions? I would probably... Oh man, it's a three-way tie between Robin, Superboy, and Impulse. Just when I think one's kind of taking the lead, people start requesting the other two. I would almost want to say Robin, but lately I think Impulse and Superboy have been just as frequent. I'd say it's very, very, very close. Too close to call. Oh, and Ken Rollo. Hey, welcome, guys. This is Ken Rollo. He'll be moderating the Young Justice panel at Long Beach Comic Con. Glad to have you here, Ken. Just started hyping our panel. So let's see, that's E15 now, some E13 here. Going lighter as we move towards the light. Go towards the light. Creating that gradation, creating the flow of that hair. Want to stay with the flow. What colors do I use for my Caucasian flesh tones? E00, E00, and E01 for the most part. Those are at least my base colors. I might use other shades as necessary. I'm pulling this E13 through the other shades just so I get so it all blends together. Oh, you can broadcast your the Facebook broadcast to Apple TV? Right on. And now we're going to a little E11 here. going to keep a little bit of the white highlight in there, in this hair, but I wanted just a little E11 just to subtly fade that E13. There's Impulse's hair. So let's kick over to the red of his costume, starting with my favorite base red, R24. Have I seen the Arthur Adams Walking Dead covers? No, I haven't seen those yet. I'm going to have to go and look those up. I imagine they are awesome. But then again, pretty much everything he does is awesome, so I wouldn't ever expect anything less. So leaving spots on his mask here, his headgear, where I'll come in with some shades of orange. Right now I'm dropping in my base red. Some people ask me why R24. You know, when I went to the art supply store to test out the reds, it was just the one that grabbed me. I just like the shade of it. It's also called Prawn. As in like Peppy the Prawn from Muppets. So I just really like this shade of red as a base red. No other real reason than that. Just personal preference. There's no scientific explanation or anything like that. Any secret reason why. Just what I like. That's why I like to buy my Copic markers individually, so I can get just the colors and shades that I like, and then fill out my collection from there. So let's drop in some R27, a little darker shade here. It's kind of it might kind of come out subtly here on the video. Let's see, let's come in with some R56 just for a little darker shade. A little here under his chin. Have to make sure I'm staying on in camera frame. Hopefully I haven't gotten too far out too often during the broadcast. A little here under the flip of his hair. Alright, now I'm going to come in with some oranges here, as I've done with some of my Spider-Man or Deadpool. I like to use orange to create the gradation from the red to the white highlight. It's a trick I saw. I want to give credit where credit is due to the amazing colorist Edgar Delgado. He colors a lot of Humberto Ramos's work and convention commissions. And I saw some convention commissions he had colored, and he utilized orange in his reds, and I loved the vibrancy of it. I just thought it was so cool looking. So I started to adopt that into mine. So I got to give credit where credit is due. My thanks to Edgar Delgado for introducing me to dropping in some red, or some orange into my reds. to create a more vibrant gradation. I don't use that for every red character, but for certain characters like a Spider-Man, Impulse, Deadpool, it really plays well for their characters. Some characters, and I can't think of any character off the top of my head at the moment. Usually it's in the moment when I realize orange isn't the right shade. Maybe I'll go with more of kind of maybe magentas or something like that, or maybe neither, you know, just leave it just straight up red depending on the character. I'd probably use oranges in like Iron Man armors just to really get that reflective red going. Now, if I feel like the orange has gotten too orangey, let's see, and that was the YR07 I just used. I want to bring in a little YR12 just to accent those last little highlights. Just bring it on home just a little bit. Just a little bit. Again, subtlety. If you can have that with a superhero. I'll come back over it with the R24 again, just to punch up the red if I feel it's gotten a little too orangey. But I like the way our eye can blend all these marker colors together, so you don't really look at it as an orange costume, but just a very vibrant red costume. At least that's my personal take on it. So a little R24 again there. So let's see, his lightning bolts here are going to be darker shades of red. So coming in with it's that same R56 again. Now this is his comic book look, in case you just tuned in. This is the design I drew during our original DC Comics Young Justice comic book series before the cartoon came about. Which orange was I using? I was using the YR07, then a little YR12. YR07 with a little YR12. Now a little R59. It was R56, now a little R59. A little darker shade. Pull this through. And to blend through that little highlight, little R85. So I'm not using any orange on these dark shades of red, almost more of a burgundy, just because I don't want it to get lost amidst the other red part of his costume. So he has these kind of two different shades of reds going. Let's tackle the little white part of his suit. Oftentimes when I do a white, I use kind of a cool gray and light blues, but this is kind of, in the comic we used more kind of a warmish tone to his white, so I'm going to use some warm grays, starting with a warm 1. Not going to do a lot here, just a little bit to kind of fade out from his shoulder down into the ether. So a little warm 3 there, and I'm coming in with some warm 0 to kind of schmooze it all together. In the comic, the warm we kind of have a little bit of barely a yellow texture, so I'm going to come in with some Y00 in here, just a little bit. Just a little bit. Not a lot. Like that's a little more vibrant than I wanted, so I'm going to come in with the the warm 0 again, just to kind of tamp that yellow down a little bit. That's another reason why I like Copic sketch markers, is that you can create new colors with the colors that you have by layering and blending them together. You're assuming this is Kid Flash. Bart Allen does later become Kid Flash, but this is his Impulse days. When he first showed up on the scene, he was Impulse for, gosh, a good number of years, almost 10 years before he became Kid Flash. Almost 10. Just shy of 10, I would guess. So now it's time for his goggles and his ear lightning bolt thingy. So let's start with the Y13. So I'm keeping in mind where there would be a highlight on the goggles themselves. Let's go ahead and use the same shade of yellow on the earpiece. Though the earpiece will probably head in a little bit of a different direction because it's a different material than his goggles. So that was the Y13. Let's come in with a little Y06. Just going to layer in different shades of yellow here, just as I feel is needed. Little Y12, especially in his eye here. I want to give it the illusion of different shade of, well, his pupils are actually yellow. The Y12 here. Do I still do Periscope broadcasts? Occasionally, yes, yes. Little Y19. Yeah, I kind of flip-flop between Facebook and Periscope. I'm going to use a little Y12, or no, yeah, YR12. I'm sorry, YR12 here, just to give his earpiece just a little more of a gold look. There's going to be a whole nother level here that I need to take the earpiece to. Let's see, a little bit of that Y00 in here. Now let's see, going to drop in some warm gray into the earpiece here to give it a little bit more of a gold vibe. Let's start with the warm 2. Where do I get my Copics from? Most of the time I get mine at the art supply store because I like to go in and check out and test out the colors first. So where that white highlight is, then I want to give an illusion of the horizon, like the reflected earth. So pulling down from that arc there, I'm able to give that hint of reflecting the sky and the ground. Sky, ground. Kind of learned this back in art school in my airbrush class back in the 1990s. Let's come in with a little darker shade of warm gray. Going to come to the warm 4 now. And just really delineate that line between the horizon, the ground, and the sky. There we go. Kind of gives it a kind of a gold look. It looks like a gold texture there. Now we'll use some warm gray here in his goggles. I'm going to use some warm gray here through his skin tone here to create a shadow from the flip of his hair. So this is the warm gray 3. And the shadow is going to come all the way down, just running right along that hair flip. to create a shadow underneath to give it that 3D effect there. Pull up under this flip as well to help create that 3D effect. Let's pull a little, that same warm gray over here. Let's put a little under his nose. Starts to help create that third dimension. A little under his lip, on this side of his lip. I'm going to lighten up here to the warm gray 1. Just want to pull down through his cheek. Don't need a lot there, just a little here on the nose, kind of shape out the nose, just a smidge. Little philtrum there. Do you know that's what it's called? I believe that's what it's called. The space, that little trough between your nose and your lip is called a philtrum. I had a friend who's a linguist. She taught me that. Some of this warm 1 right here through his goggles. The goggle lens, I should say. Kind of similarly, kind of the horizon, the ground, sky, ground, sky, ground, sky. I'm going to move to a darker shade of warm gray. How much did I enjoy drawing the New Gods Infinity Man during the Young Justice run? That was a lot of fun. Yeah, getting to play with the Jack Kirby New Gods characters, so cool. And having Secret meet Darkseid. Darken up that shade through the red here just a bit. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Drawing the Forever people, getting to draw New Genesis. Definitely fun. So just pulling this gray. Warm gray because red is a warm character. Color, I should say. I guess the color could be a character as well. Maybe one could argue that. The color is a character itself. Tamp it down to the warm 2. Kind of blend that through a little bit. Let's pull a little warm 4 right through there. All right, and then let's use the warm gray 6 to pull some gray shading through the hair here, through some of the strands, kind of give it a little more texture to the hair. So with the brush tip, I can get these light pen strokes, brush strokes, as well as create clunkier shapes as well as needed. Yet another reason why I like the brush tip of the Copic sketch marker. All right, now let's see. What we want to do is create, I think we have enough time here to do a background shape. So I'm going to start with a, going to drop in a rectangle here. And we want a lightning bolt coming through here. So I'm going to rough in where that lightning bolt would cut through. Oops, sorry about that. Then here's where I have the other end of the lightning bolt cut through here. And then we're just going to fade all the way down. We're going in depth with this one. So since mostly we got a lot of warm characters, in fact, I'm going to pull the camera back just a smidge so we can see the entirety of the Background process. This does not want to adjust correctly. There we go. Is that it? That's it. There we go. So you can see the whole thing as we work on it. I'm going to use cool grays. Cool grays here. So we're going to start with a cool 10. And then we're going to start to drop in the gray here. The fade, we're going to do this fade here. So starting with a cool 10, leaving some space for the cool 9. And then we'll tackle the next part of the rectangle once we get past Impulse's head. So I'm going to skip, I'm just going to do even numbered gradation down, so skipping to the cool 8, I should say, instead of 9. Going to go to the cool 8. Pulling the color of putting the 8 over the 10 there, so as I pull down into the rest of the paper there, it creates a nice subtle fade. So I'm blending this 8 over that 10. Blend this 8 over this 10. I'm leaving a thin halo around Impulse so as not to lose the line art. So let's pull a little 8 down through this side here. Now we bump down to the cool 6. Blending through that 8, down through the 6, maintaining the halo. And let's put a little, put a little bit of the guide with the cool 6 down through here. Just put a smidge of the cool 6 on this side. Doesn't line up directly across, it's kind of more of a diagonal. That's okay. We want that kind of organic or less symmetrical vibe, so it's a little darker on this side, a little more lighter on this side as we come down. Maybe put a little 6 for me to blend with as I bump down to the cool 4. Finish off that gradation guideline. Using the broad tip of the marker for ruling, the brush tip would not work as well. So we got the cool 4 there. Let's bring it down to the cool 2. And finish it off, the fade, with some cool 0. Very light, very, very light. Now we're not quite done just yet. What I want to take now is my Uniball Signo white gel pen and create some lightning bolt, little stray bolts here. Get a little more texture out of the lightning bolt. Just a little bit of this here, kind of running alongside the lightning bolt, creating little tendrils. Maybe a few little flecks. And just do a quick erase of the guidelines that we don't need anymore. So it looks like the lightning bolt is cutting through the white. Let's get a little more right there. There we go. So let's autograph this one. And today's date is the 15th. There we go. There's Bart Allen, aka Impulse. Let me flip around here and we'll field a couple of questions that I might have missed during the broadcast. Oh, actually, you know what? We had one more thing. I want to put that little highlight right there on his nose. Now he's done. That's it. You know I was forgetting something. You know, and then, you know, I start to discover other little things I like to do. Let's put little highlights here through the metal. And on the eyes there. Just a little something more for the eye to play with. There we go. So let's flip around. I'll answer a few questions. If I missed some of your questions, I probably know I missed a lot of your questions, especially when the phone started to lag. So we'll do a quick chat and then call it a show. Let's see. A lot of great comments here, gang. Can I tell you how to draw a metal effect? You're trying to draw Iron Man, you don't know how to get the shiny effect. I don't know if I can really tell. Hopefully you can go back. Maybe you missed it when I did the colors for Impulse's ear wings here, this gold texture. When this broadcast is done, go back and rewatch it and fast forward to this part here and study what I did there, and hopefully that'll help you in your Iron Man metal textures, because it's very much the same principle. Do I have any projects in the works at DC that now they've started Rebirth? I do have friends at DC. I have talked with friends at DC. I can't really say anything about those meetings, but right now Marvel has me. I've got a lot of stuff coming out from Marvel, so that's where you want to keep your focus right now. Especially my Deadpool series. Deadpool Too Soon, debuting in print, in comic shops, October 19th. 4-issue miniseries. Make sure you add it to your pull list. You don't want to miss a single issue. A lot of fun. A lot of great guest stars like Ant-Man, Punisher, Spider-Ham, Howard the Duck, Squirrel Girl, Rocket, and Groot. And that's just in the first issue. So make sure you add Deadpool Too Soon to your pull list. Let's see. Looks like we got some questions here coming up now in the feed. How's Deadpool going? Thank you, Will Robson. Not Rob Wilson. Will Robson. As I just mentioned, it's going quite well. Having a great time with it. Can't wait for issue 1 to come out, which I think might be a week or two after your Great Lakes Avengers comes out. Am I planning to come to Emerald City again next year? I haven't been working on my 2017 convention schedule yet. I hope to be there. I love that show. I really want to be there. Just have to see how my schedule shakes down, but I do hope to be there. Have I ever Kitty and Colossus together? Have I ever drawn? I'm assuming you meant draw, so we're just going to go with that. Have I ever drawn Kitty and Colossus together? I can't remember if I have or not. I'm not sure if I have. I had to have. But maybe I haven't. I have to do a Google image search to see if I've posted anything like that. Can I give you a tour of my studio? Someday, yes, when I clean it up. It's far too messy. I do not want to show you a messy studio. I got to clean it up. Sorry, gang. So no studio no studio to. I've become the Swedish chef all of a sudden. No studio tour today. If I could have Booster Gold fight anyone, who would I choose? Probably Darkseid. Let's put him up against one of the biggest bads out there. Do I spend more time on comics for the big companies or commissions for individuals? Well, most of my work schedule is put towards drawing the comics because that's my bread and butter. You know, I gotta make sure my editors are happy, so I do spend a lot of time on that. When I do my commissions, I spend, you know, the time necessary for that to do the best work I can. Whether I'm drawing comics or I'm drawing commissions, I'm always seeking to do the best job I can. So the time and attention is always to do the best work I can. So, but as far as the time that I have to spend to draw, to work, do work or do commissions right now, a lot of it's going into my work because comic books got to get drawn, and then commissions follow it during the free time. Any chance to see me at a Texas Con soon? I hope so. I hope to be at Texas soon. Can you send me a copy of your Kitty and Colossus on my Twitter? Feel free to post it. Feel free to tag me in it so I can see your illustration. Can't promise I can respond, but hopefully I'll get a chance to at least see. So that would be fine. How long does it take to finish a comic book? It takes me about 4 weeks to pencil and ink a comic book, ideally. I can do it in less time, but I prefer when we get the full 4 weeks. Because then I'm not having to work super crazy hours. But as a freelance artist, sometimes that's what you gotta do. You gotta spend the time it takes to get the job did. So gang, I want to say thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for all the great questions and comments. I can't wait to see all the ones that I missed. I hope y'all have a great day. Feel free, if this is your first time to my page and watching my broadcast, if you like my broadcast, if you like my art here, please feel free to like my page so you don't miss out on future postings and broadcasts and updates of conventions, comics, and things like that. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thanks so much for watching on YouTube. Please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss future videos. And if you like what you see, leave a comment, leave a thumbs up. I appreciate the support, and make sure you subscribe. Gang, I hope y'all have a great day, and I hope to see you again really soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.